Frequently asked questions. Question: what does MHQ mean? MHQ stands for Misinformation, Hypesterism, and Quackery. Question: why not just focus on statements of MHQ and exclude the names of sources? In other words, why not focus on science, not people? Answer: the popular diet and health industries revolve around the credibility of popular names, authors, gurus, and organizations. For most of those unfamiliar with the science, the credibility of particular sources of information is the only way to gauge the credibility of the scientific message. Unfortunately, as the very point of this project suggests, such credibility in the public eye has very little relationship to the true scientific credibility as might be established by members of the scientific community. This project is an attempt to make the public credibility that many popular health experts enjoy more closely match the true scientific credibility, and thus to provide the lay public with a better understanding of the true quality of information coming from such experts. This is somewhat different from what occurs in the scientific community. In the scientific community, while credibility is important, the role of the facts themselves, or the data, is substantially greater. One does not win scientific arguments by who one is, but by what one shows. In the popular nutrition and health industries, on the other hand, marketing, rhetoric, business acumen, etc. play the overwhelming role in establishing credibility, to the point that many individuals who systematically make claims that are not true are highly regarded in otherwise respected popular publications. One example is The Economist, Forbes. As mentioned, the goal of this project is to provide a mechanism that can neutralize some of the influence of marketing, rhetoric, business acumen, etc. This is done in two ways. For sources or experts who consistently misinform the public, this database will in detail show exactly how they do so and give them a score based on the extent and dangerousness to which they do, thereby reducing their credibility commensurate with the high quality of information that they release, the low quality of information that they release. Second, this database will promote sources of information that are reliable as well, thereby increasing the credibility of those sources commensurate with the high quality of information that they release. It's also important to note that this database does focus on statements. And so anybody who is interested in the particular details of why a particular statement is wrong can easily search through this database and look through the explanations and learn more about the details of science as well, and not just the people. So this database does both for those who are curious. Question: I noticed that Science Communicator X is on the summary sheet and has a non-zero aggregated MHQ score. Why is this if Science Communicator X is such a great communicator and puts out such high quality information? Answer: in order to be unbiased and impartial, all reported statements that are MHQ must be recorded on the preliminary list. If they are vetted by the editorial staff and judged to be MHQ accordingly. In truth, virtually everyone will produce some MHQ. Everyone, including the architects and maintainers of this database. Everyone will overhype. Everyone will provide misinformation. And by mistake, many people, maybe even everyone, will fall for quackery and communicate that as well. This is why the preliminary list and notifications are critical. Whether someone has a non-zero aggregated score is entirely up to those who produce the MHQ and communicate the MHQ. And it can always be corrected to zero by clarifying or correcting the MHQ publicly according to the rules. Question: what is the summary sheet? Answer: the summary sheet details both reputable sources of online health, nutrition, and fitness information, as well as sources that make statements of MHQ that have been reported and added to the unresolved list. The summary sheet will include an aggregated MHQ score for each source, which is a proxy for the reliability of that source. Question: what is the aggregated MHQ score? Answer: each statement in the unresolved list will be weighted by dangerousness, with 3 dangerousness rankings: mostly harmless, possibly dangerous, and dangerous. Statements that are mostly harmless will count as 1, possibly dangerous as 2, and dangerous as 3. The score for each reported MHQ statement from a given source will then be aggregated into a total aggregated MHQ score for that source, and this score will be listed on the summary sheet. For example, a source with 2 reported MHQ statements on the unresolved list, one of which is dangerous and the other mostly harmless, 3 and 1 respectively, will receive a score of 4. Question: how do we evaluate dangerousness? Answer: mostly harmless. Statements about matter of fact that are wrong, misleading, or overhyped, but in such a way without any real practical intent or consequence. Possibly dangerous. Statements about matter of fact that are wrong, misleading, or overhyped that mislead the audience into actions that are potentially dangerous. For example, fad diets. Dangerous. Statements about matters of fact that are wrong, misleading, or overhyped that mislead the audience into actions that are definitely dangerous according to overwhelming consensus. For example, refusing life-saving medical care. Question: what is the preliminary list? Answer: the preliminary list contains, for 1 week, all recent reports of statements of MHQ that have been vetted by the editorial staff. During the week on the preliminary list, the violator will have the opportunity to issue clarifications or corrections and thereby be moved onto the resolved list if these reverse the initially problematic statement. Question: what is the unresolved list? Answer: the unresolved list is where all reports of MHQ on the preliminary list go if they have not received adequate clarification or correction within 1 week of notification. All statements on the unresolved list will have their scores aggregated, and this score will be listed by the source in the aggregated MHQ score on the summary sheet. Question: what is the resolved list? Answer: the resolved list is where all reports of MHQ go that have received clarification or correction such that it is clear that MHQ is not being communicated or has been disavowed. Reports of MHQ from the preliminary list can be moved to the resolved list if addressed within 1 week. Reports of MHQ from the unresolved list can be removed to the resolved list if addressed at any time. Statements moved to the resolved list will not be included in the aggregated MHQ score and the summary sheet. And this is even the case for statements that were moved from the unresolved list to the resolved list. They will be removed from the summary sheet. This is the frequently asked questions. Thanks for watching.